Before you move to Danville, San Ramon, or anywhere in the Tri-Valley, you need to hear this. The Tri-Valley can feel like a total upgrade. Bigger homes, better schools, and sunshine almost year-round. Or it can also feel isolating, really hot, and like you might have signed up for a second job just sitting in traffic. I've seen it both ways. And I've also seen families who've relocated from Oakland only to move back a couple of years later because they missed the energy and they hated their commute. So which one would you be? Let's find out. I'm Jen from the Jenn Collins group, and I've lived in the East Bay most of my life. I help people not just find which house to buy, but find a home and a neighborhood that they'll truly love. Today, we're breaking down the real pros and cons of living in the Tri-Valley: Danville, San Ramon, Pleasanton, and Dublin. This is not just the polished brochure version. This is day-to-day real life and what it's like to actually live here. We'll talk about the trade-offs, and you'll learn things that you won't find in a Zillow listing. Because before you make a move that could change your finances, your commute, and your lifestyle, you deserve to have the full picture. And be sure to stick around till the very end to learn which characteristic is both a pro and a con. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with the biggest reason that people move here. Most often, it's for affordability. I know, that sounds ridiculous when we're talking about million-dollar homes, but hear me out. For the same price that you might pay for a 1,200 square foot condo in San Francisco or a townhouse in Palo Alto, here in the Tri-Valley, you could get a single-family home that's double the size, with a backyard. That means space for guests, actual storage space, and maybe even a pool. I had clients that sold their Silicon Valley home and bought a gorgeous 4-bedroom, 3,600 square foot home in Blackhawk for $2.5 million with a pool. It's truly their dream home. And it's not just housing. Your day-to-day expenses will be lower here too. Parking is often free in most of our towns. Restaurants are a bit cheaper. You're not going to be paying $28 for a hamburger like you would in San Francisco. And gas is even a bit cheaper in some areas too. Here's the trade-off. You're farther from San Francisco, and you won't likely have access to public transit like you do in the city. But if you're someone who rarely goes into San Francisco, or you're working hybrid or remotely, this can be a total game changer for your quality of life and your financial situation. So what's the biggest downside to living in the Tri-Valley? Mainly, it's the commute. If you work in San Francisco, the Peninsula, or parts of the South Bay, your commute from the Tri-Valley is going to be significant. Commute times can range from about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and that's each way, on a good day. If there's an accident on 580 or 680, you can add another 30 to 45 minutes to that commute. And the Caldecott Tunnel or the Altamont Pass can really become parking lots, especially on Fridays. Now we do have BART out here. We have the Pleasanton and Dublin BART stations, which are very convenient. But you're still looking at about an hour to get into San Francisco, and that's only if BART's running on time. And let's be real, BART has had its fair share of delays and service issues. Now here's the thing, if you're a hybrid worker or you're only going into the office 2 to 3 days a week, or if you can shift your schedule so that you're not commuting during peak times, it's manageable. I know plenty of people who leave early in the morning to get into the office early, or who leave later during the day and stay a little bit later in the evening. But if you're commuting 5 days a week at peak times, you're looking at about 10 to 15 hours a week just in transit. That's basically a part-time job, or a great way to get caught up on your Audible subscription. You really need to crunch the numbers to see what works for you. Yes, you're saving money on housing, but is it worth it to spend that time in traffic? For some people, the trade-off makes sense. For others, it absolutely does not. And one more thing, if you work in the South Bay for companies like Google, Apple, or Meta, they do offer shuttle buses to and from the Tri-Valley, which can make the commute more bearable, especially if you can get work done on the shuttle bus. So be sure to check into that if it applies to you. Another big reason that people move to the Tri-Valley is for the schools. This area is home to several of the top-ranked school districts in California. The San Ramon Valley Unified School District, which serves San Ramon and Danville, is extremely high-performing. Schools like Monte Vista High School, San Ramon Valley High School, California High School, and Doherty Valley High School all consistently rank among the best in the state. The Dublin Unified School District is also a very highly regarded school district, with standout schools like Fallon Middle School and Dublin High School, plus the new Emerald High School, which was newly built in 2024 and makes it the first new public school campus to open in Alameda County in over 50 years. It will eventually grow to serve about 2,500 students once construction is fully complete in 2027. And if you're considering Pleasanton, that falls under the Pleasanton Unified School District, which contains Amador Valley High School and Foothill High School, both very strong academically and with relocating families. Across the Tri-Valley, you'll also find elementary and middle schools are a huge reason why people move here. You'll generally find strong academic performance, high parent involvement, and well-funded schools, plus lots of enrichment activities like music, STEM, and after-school activities. And because so many families prioritize education here, the schools tend to have a very supportive culture with really high expectations. The downside to these academic schools is that the academic pressure can be intense. For some families, that's a huge pro. For others, not as much. It's something that you really need to consider based on your own child. I even know some families who have one child in one school and one child in another because they're each uniquely supported in those separate environments. Compare all of that to the schools in San Francisco, where you're dealing with a lottery system and you might not even get into your neighborhood school. Out here, you pretty much know which school your child will be attending, and the quality of that school will be consistently high. So if schools are a top priority for you, the Tri-Valley is one of the best places in Northern California. Now here's something that you really need to understand if you're moving from San Francisco or Oakland. The Tri-Valley is suburban, with a capital S. Rarely will your home allow you to walk down to the corner coffee shop, and there's not much in terms of a vibrant nightlife. It's unlikely that you're going to stumble onto a cool new art gallery, though the live music scene in restaurants is starting to see a little more activity. Your entertainment options are pretty limited to restaurants, shopping centers, and movie theaters. Downtown Danville and downtown Pleasanton are charming. There are nice restaurants and lots of boutiques, but they're still very quiet and very family-centered. San Ramon is primarily residential and commercial centers, though the new city center is providing a vibrant area for residents. Dublin has the outlet mall and some new shopping centers, but again, it's still very suburban. If you're someone who loves the energy and walkability of city living, and your favorite thing to do is grab dim sum at 10 p.m. or catch a concert at the last minute, the Tri-Valley might feel a little too dull for you. Plus, you need a car here. You're going to be driving everywhere. To the grocery store, you're going to drive. Out to dinner with friends, you're going to drive. To the gym, yes, you're going to drive there too. Now, if you're in the stage of life where you want some peace and quiet, you want your kids to be able to play safely on the cul-de-sac, you want to get to know your neighbors, and a night out means dinner at a nice Italian restaurant where you're home by 9 p.m., you're going to love the Tri-Valley. But if you're young, single, or you just thrive on urban energy, you might find the Tri-Valley a little too boring. Now let's talk about the weather. We get sunshine about 260 days a year. While San Francisco is socked in with fog, we're out here in 80 to 90 degree weather. You can actually plan outdoor events and trust that the weather will be nice and that you won't need a parka. Mount Diablo is right here with amazing hiking and biking trails, and on a clear day, you can see from the summit all the way to the Sierras. Plus, Los Trompos Regional Wilderness, Sycamore Valley, and the Iron Horse Trail are all great options for walking, hiking, and jogging. And we have Lake Del Valle for boating and fishing. Plus, you're only 45 minutes to the Livermore wine country, which has exploded with wineries in the last 10 years. If you're an outdoor person and you like hiking, biking, or being on a trail, or if you just like to be comfortable outdoors for most of the year, you're going to love the Tri-Valley. The flip side is that it does get hot during the summer. We're talking about 95 to 105 degrees in July and August. Not every year, but some years. And unlike the city, we don't have the ocean breeze to cool us down. You'll definitely want good air conditioning and recognize that your PG&E bill might be steeper during those summer months. But if you're like me and you love the heat, you're going to love it here. Besides, it's a dry heat. If you know, you know. Another thing that people aren't really prepared for when they move to the Tri-Valley is the wind. Because of our microclimates, the makeup of the hillscapes, and our valley, we get some really good gusts and consistently windy days in Dublin and Pleasanton. But honestly, for most people who move out here from the fog belt, the weather is a huge plus. Here's another thing that surprises people about moving to the Tri-Valley, especially if you're coming from places like San Francisco, the Peninsula, or parts of Oakland. A huge part of the development out here is newer construction. Homes were built in the 80s and 90s, not in the 1920s, or they're part of master planned communities. And that means that they come with homeowners associations. Now, HOAs aren't necessarily bad things, but you want to understand what your lifestyle might look like with an HOA. With an HOA, you'll have monthly or quarterly dues. For some people, that's a huge plus. The neighborhood stays clean, consistent, and well kept. The parks are maintained, the common areas look great, and everything looks organized. But for others, it can feel a little controlled. And along with that, a lot of the homes and neighborhoods in the communities in the Tri-Valley can look a little uniform. With an HOA, you'll have monthly or quarterly dues. You'll also have rules and regulations about things like landscaping, exterior paint color, what you can and can't park in your driveway or on the street. You might even have rules about how your front yard is maintained or whether or not you can have a basketball hoop near your front yard. Now, when we lived in Oakland, we didn't have an HOA. And one day, our neighbor decided to paint their home orange with purple trim. And no, I'm not kidding. Now, they did a nice job of choosing some plants that coordinated nicely with the colors. But I'll tell you, every day I drove by that home and cringed. So while you'll get more uniformity here in the Tri-Valley, you won't find homes with an eclectic feel or historic homes with quirky architecture and that city charm that you'll find in places like San Francisco, parts of Oakland, and Alameda. Out here, most homes were built in the last 20 to 30 years. So while they're bigger and often more functional with better floor plans and open layouts, modern kitchens, and newer infrastructure, they can feel a little cookie cutter. So if you're someone who loves older neighborhoods with lots of personality, or you want your home to feel like one of a kind, that's something to think about. The Tri-Valley is amazing for comfort, space, and convenience, but it definitely has more of a planned suburban vibe compared to other more eclectic parts of the Bay Area. Let's talk about safety and families. The Tri-Valley has some of the lowest crime rates in the Bay Area. Danville, Dublin, and Pleasanton consistently rank as some of the safest cities in California. You can let your kids ride their bikes around the neighborhood. You can leave your car unlocked in the driveway, though I wouldn't really recommend it. And package theft here is low compared to other urban areas. If you're coming from San Francisco or Oakland, where car break-ins and property theft are a constant frustration, this can be a breath of fresh air for you. There are tons of youth sports to choose from soccer, swim teams, dance, baseball, football, cheerleading, and much more. Plus, we have community events, farmers markets, and concerts in the park. There's a real sense of community, especially in neighborhoods where families have lived there for many years. Plus, the local parks become gathering spaces for friends, family, and special events. San Ramon has Central Park with play areas and splash pads. Danville has great community centers and programs. And Dublin has really invested in parks, hiking trails, and recreational facilities. Pleasanton also has beautiful and well-maintained parks. There are expansive sports fields and events at Ken Mercer Sports Park, and scenic trails and picnic areas at places like Shadow Cliffs and Pleasanton Ridge. There is no shortage of outdoor space for families and weekend activities. If you want a safe place to raise kids where they can have that quintessential suburban childhood, playing outside, riding their bikes to their friend's house, and participating in organized sports activities, you'll love everything that the Tri-Valley has to offer. The downside is that it can feel a little sheltered, but for safety and family friendliness, the Tri-Valley is the best. Earlier, I mentioned that the weather is a huge pro of living here. Let me explain why it can also be a con. Yes, we have sunshine, a lot of sunshine, but we can also have that extreme summer heat that I talked about. There can be multiple weeks where it doesn't drop below 100 degrees. If you're someone who's sensitive to heat, or if you have young children or senior family members who are sensitive to heat, those summer months can be really tough. And since we're not that close to the coast, if you want to escape the heat and hit the beach, you're talking about a 60 to 90 minute drive to Half Moon Bay or Santa Cruz. And during those summer months, when everyone else has the same idea, that drive can be even longer. Even though an escape to the beach might be a little challenging, most homes here either have a pool in their backyard or access to a community pool, so even when it's hot, there are ways to escape the heat. Also, being more inland means that sometimes we're more affected by wildfire smoke. When there are fires in the Sierras or in the North Bay, the smoke tends to settle into our valley. We have had some pretty bad air quality days when we weren't even able to go outside during some of those wildfires. So while the weather is generally beautiful, the summer months can be extreme, and you're farther from the coast, which makes other parts of the Bay Area more comfortable. Okay, last but definitely not least is that the Tri-Valley has seen some massive investment and growth in the last 10 to 15 years, and it definitely shows. City Center at Bishop Branch is basically a mini downtown. Tons of restaurants, shops, a movie theater, and even office space. It's become a real hub, and now Bishop Branch has plans to add about another 8,500 homes to the former commercial office park, though these plans will take place in the next 20 to 30 years. So more growth is definitely coming. The Alameda County Fairgrounds host the Alameda County Fair every year and tons of other events throughout the year. Plus, you have the Livermore outlets for shopping, and new restaurants are opening all the time. The infrastructure here is solid too. The roads are maintained and the parks are clean, safe, and updated. The public libraries are great here too, with Dublin Library and San Ramon Library offering modern facilities and great programs. And here's something else that people don't think about all the time. Because the cities out here are newer and more planned, things just tend to work better. Parking is often ample and free, Even the streetlights are planned out and timed. There's less of that old, chaotic infrastructure that you get in parts of Oakland and San Francisco. And while it might not have the character of older neighborhoods, it is efficient and comfortable. For people who are coming from San Francisco or Oakland, who are tired of things like homelessness, aging infrastructure, broken sidewalks, and the lack of parking, the Tri-Valley can really feel like a breath of fresh air. The Tri-Valley is still growing too. More housing developments are being built, more parks and commercial spaces are being developed, and more restaurants are opening. It's an area that's continuing to invent itself. So now, to sum it up, the pros and the cons of living in the Tri-Valley. The cons are: the commute can be brutal if you're commuting into San Francisco, Silicon Valley, or the South Bay. It's very suburban here, with less urban energy and walkability. You may have a homeowners association and costs to contend with. The summer heat can be very intense. It can feel somewhat isolated from Bay Area culture and nightlife. Now for the pros. Your money goes further, and you can buy a bigger home for less. There are excellent schools. The weather is beautiful, and residents can enjoy outdoor living almost year-round. It's safe and very family-friendly. The area continues to grow with new amenities and solid infrastructure. Here's my take. The Tri-Valley is unbeatable if you're in a certain stage of life. If you're raising a family and you're looking for safety, space, and schools, and you're okay with that suburban lifestyle, or if you're working remotely or hybrid, the Tri-Valley is an absolute dream. But if you're young and single and you love city living, or if you commute daily to San Francisco or the South Bay, you might want to think twice about living in the Tri-Valley. I've lived here most of my life, and I'll admit, when I was younger, I didn't appreciate everything that the Tri-Valley had to offer. But now, with a family and kids, I love it for what it is, and I'm also honest about what it is not. So if you're starting to think about making a move, either buying or selling, be sure to check out the links below. And when you're ready, I'd love to chat with you more to help you map out your next step. You can call or text me at the number below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.